Hi, PE 584. My name is Gina Ramos, and I'm going to go ahead and do our introductory posting. So, number one, what is your current occupation and where do you work? I am currently a middle school physical education teacher at Lakeside Middle School in the Little Lake City School District, which is out in the Norwalk, Santa Fe Springs area, and I teach grades 6 through 8. Number two, what research topic do you intend to investigate for your capstone project? So for the past few classes, I've done research on adolescents and their screen time, which includes computer time, iPad, cell phone, gaming, any of those things versus their physical activity. So that's what I'm going to focus on for my capstone project. Number three, what are your 5 strengths that were identified in PE 582 when you completed the Strengths Finder assessment? So the order that was given to me as far as my 5 strengths were activator, discipline, achiever, consistency, and learner. Number 4, explain how the values of your strengths will assist you in completing your capstone. So when I was reading the basements and balconies, a few of the characteristics per each strength that I had really stood out that I see myself doing on a daily basis. For activator, I make things happen. When I have something in mind, I don't tend to sit on it for very long. I kind of tend to gravitate towards doing it and getting to certain points to seeing if it would actually work. If we have to, or if I have to make tweaks or adjustments, I'm able to do so then. But I tend to try to get it done rather than kind of ponder on it. Discipline, structure to be productive, and I'm a list person, so I like to make a list of things that need to be done or things that need to get done because I feel a sense of accomplishment when I'm able to cross those things off my list. Achiever, motivation, drive, and determination. So I'm definitely motivated to be pretty much the best person that I can be and teacher I can be. And I have the drive to make my class and my department better than mediocre or just getting by with basic things or basic lesson plans. So I tend to try to seek what I can do as an educator to have my department and myself be successful. Consistency, treat everyone equally. My department is actually leans more towards the younger age as far as being in our 30s. We have one veteran teacher that's been there for quite some time. So when I see the consistency as far as pretty much treating everyone the same, being fresh teachers, new teachers, younger teachers, we tend to come in with new ideas. And with veteran teachers, it's kind of, they know what tends to work. However, I'm very fortunate enough to have a veteran teacher that is willing to learn new things and try new things and try different activities. So it's not something where you're, just because they're a veteran, they know what they're doing, it's their way or the highway. So being able to treat everyone the same, you kind of get that same respect back. And the last thing is learner. Love to learn, learning process of myself and others. So I see myself, I consider myself a young teacher, and I see myself wanting to go to conferences to get new ideas that I can bring back to my school, to my department, to try to make our department better and kind of up to date on new things that have come out, applications that have come out, technology that has come out, lessons, new lessons, doing non-traditional sports versus just traditional sports. And then I also notice that I'm also, with my teaching, I execute verbally, kinesthetically, visually. So it's one of those things where I'm able to see my students kind of pick up on what they gravitate more towards on how they learn, knowing that each individual student is different. So I love learning new things and trying to implement them on a daily basis. Number 5, explain how the basement of your strengths may deter you in completing your capstone, and identify the steps you will take to overcome these. So, there's always pros and cons on being certain things. For example, me being an activator also makes me impatient. I tend to, I want to make things happen. However, I don't want to necessarily fail at that. So when I have to go back and try it again, and obviously maybe there will be a couple more failures or a few more failures, or it might be something that just never works. I tend to grow impatient though. I tend to grow thinking, why didn't it work the first time? It should have worked the first time. So it kind of goes, impatient and frustration kind of coincide with me when it comes to trying to make things happen. Discipline does not like change. So like I said, I love making lists because then I'm able to cross things off my list once they've been accomplished. However, things need to be adjusted, things need to be changed, priorities tend to change. And so it comes to the fact of I need to learn to be able to work with change. I don't like when something is completely new and, someone's trying to reinvent the wheel. It's rather than making smaller changes and different adjustments, they want to try to go in and change everything. So I tend to not like drastic changes, I guess you can say. Steps here and there, trying to implement new things, totally get. But again, reinventing the wheel does not work for me. So the next one would be my achiever. Overcommitted, burnt out. It's really hard for me to say no to people. I'm learning. But I need to remember that I'm one person and I can only go so many different ways. So when I tend to take too much on, I tend to burn myself out, and then it kind of is a domino effect with all my other strengths and their balconies that tend to then go to the basements of those strengths. Consistency, by the book, Inflexible. Being a physical education teacher, being inflexible isn't an option. The weather, equipment usage, it's kind of one of those things where you have to adjust. And you have to adjust period by period. What may work for one period may not work for another period. What may work for a group of people may not work for another group of people. So learning to be flexible, but to maintain structure. So it's kind of like beating a dead horse when they're already on the ground kind of thing. It's like one of those things where I'm not going to continue a lesson because that's what I have on paper if it's not working. So you're kind of, I guess you would almost say, winging it. So you have a certain outline, and then you fill in as you go throughout that outline. So again, being inflexible is not an option. I feel that if I am an inflexible person or teacher, it doesn't make me out to be a good teacher. And then the last basement for learner is absorbs too much, lacks focus on results. So because I love to learn, like I said, I love going to conferences, learning new activities, learning, what kind of new equipment we can implement into my lessons. I know I tend to get ahead of myself, and I try to, again, implement too many things that I've learned. And it doesn't come out the way that it should be coming out. It doesn't, the result isn't what it should have been. The kids didn't pick up on it the way I thought they would. And then again, it's that whole domino effect. So I need to learn to implement bits and pieces, you know, introduce an activity and then go with what we have been doing and just slowly start to progress on implementing new activities into my class versus day one, everything's new. And then it goes to, again, trying to reinvent the wheel, which doesn't always work that great. So I believe that is it. I hope to see some familiar faces throughout this course, getting through our first capstone class before we move on to the second and earn our master's. And I hope to see some new faces that I haven't seen throughout this journey and to get to know you guys and be able to work with all of you. So I hope everyone has a great first week of this class. Have a good one.